What's up guys, how's it going? AviddGeek here. Today was Apple's announcement on the new iPhone 5S and all its goodies that came along with it. So we're just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that, give a little bit of my opinion and what exactly was announced. So here's a quick recap. So first off, Apple announced a little bit as far as iOS 7. We've seen it back a few months ago, but now they're finally talking about it. They're finally giving it a release date of next week on September 18th. So you can download that and it's compatible with the iPhone 4 and later. So iPhone 4, 4S, the 5, and of course it'll become pre-installed in the 5S and the 5C, but we'll talk about those two in just a moment. It'll also work with your iPad mini, iPad 2 and later, the later generation, so it won't work on your iPad 1, but hopefully you've upgraded by now. It will also work on the iPod Touch 5th generation and later, so those of you who have their touches, feel free to touch away on iOS 7. So next, Apple actually announced the iPhone 5S, C standing for color. So now you have all these phones with different colors. You have a red, you have a yellow, you have a green, I think much similar to this shirt here. It's pretty much the same thing as the iPhone 5, the current phone right now. The processor's the same, the rear-facing camera is the same. The only difference is, I believe, is actually the back, which is now made out of plastic instead of the metal, and the front-facing camera, which is, I think, a little bit beefier than what it is currently now. So all those who want to do your FaceTime, you now have a way better camera to use. Well, not a way better, but a little bit better than what it currently is now. So the 5C comes in two models. That's two, count them, 1, 2, two models. The 16 gigabyte model, which retails for $99 with a 2-year contract, and a 32 gigabyte model, which retails for $199 with a 2-year contract. Relatively inexpensive phones, the same price as we've seen before with their old phones. So as the new phone comes out, the previous generation always drops in price. And that means the 4S is actually free. So if you're looking for a free phone, that's not bad at all. So take a look at that. So last but not least, Apple announced the latest and greatest phone, the iPhone 5S. And luckily, I have one right here, the 5S. Look at that design. Look at the beauty. Never before have you seen a phone this sleek, this thin, this innovative. No, I'm just kidding. It's the 5. But pretty much it looks exactly the same. There's no difference as far as its appearance. They didn't really do any major redesign or anything on the phone. It looks pretty much the same. So what did they change in the new iPhone 5S? Glad you asked. They changed the name of the color from black to space. Why? Who knows? But they still have the black color, they have the silver color, and now they have a champagne color. It's kind of like a gold tint to the phone. Not my cup of tea, but who's to complain about another color, right? They also changed the camera. Now you can do slow motion at 120 frames per second at 720p. Very nice feature to add. They also have a burst mode where it'll take 10 shots as soon as you hit that little click button, that little picture taking button there. Also, they've added a new chip. So now you have the A7 chip, which is supposed to be a lot faster than the A6. It's also the very first 64-bit chip in the smartphone. All the other chips have been 32-bit. This is the first 64-bit. To me, that is the biggest deal out of this phone. I'll kind of give my final opinion at the end of the video, so I'll hold off my thoughts on that till then. So they also have another chip that's called the M7 chip. That chip is going to be used to kind of measure your movements and knows when you're driving, knows when you're walking, knows when you're running, knows when you're working out, and knows when you're making breakfast. So it's supposed to kind of detect all motion on that chip. Specifically for that chip, that's what it does. It checks all those things. So you can use it with fitness and health apps. So it's kind of like a replacement to your own Fitbit, like a little personal fuel band or anything like that. So they also improved the flash on your camera. So now it has 2 LED lights. It has one that's like a daylight, one that also has a amber light. So it's kind of like the tungsten. So now you do is when you take a picture, it'll actually balance out the light for your photo using one of the 2 lights. And it picks kind of the best out of the both. Really interesting and very nice to have in your phone. It's kind of one of those features you would see in a regular camera as opposed to a phone, so it's nice that they've included it in there. One of the coolest features they've also added to the phone is this new Touch ID. So what you do is, to unlock your phone, before we'd have to do this whole little push there and then swipe across to unlock the phone. Now all you do is just touch this little home key, it'll detect your thumbprint, and voila, it's unlocked. Also, what it'll be used for is for apps that require a password, but it's only going to be specifically Apple apps. So like when you purchase anything from iTunes, anything from the App Store, you would use your thumbprint instead of a password. It won't be utilized on any of the other apps that are available on the phone due to security reasons. They did mention, however, which is very important, that any of the thumbprints are not going to be stored on Apple's iCloud or on their servers. It's only going to be tied to your phone, and that's about it. It won't be shared anywhere else. it's good to know about that because I was a little concerned about it being stored on their servers or any one of their systems. I kind of don't like that idea. So there are 3 models to the new iPhone 5S. You have the 16 gigabyte at $199 with the 2-year contract. You have the 32 gigabyte at $299 with the 2-year contract. And you have the 64 gigabyte, the whopping 64 gigabyte at $399 with the 2-year contract. You can pick up the new iPhone 5S and the iPhone 5C in about 2 weeks time. It's going to be available for pre-order on the 13th, which is this Friday. The following week, it'll actually be available. It'll be in stores on September 20th. So with that being said, what are kind of my final thoughts on the announcement and on the phones, their features, and all their goodies? So what I think about the 5S, I think it's just pretty much the 5 with a brand new back into it. A way of making the 5 less expensive. Adding some color on the back and making it plastic. It's nice that it's available for $100. I didn't really expect it to be that much more than that. I don't know, it's just kind of nice to have colors, but it doesn't mean much to me. They didn't really improve too much on the phone. But it is nice for those who want to kind of move to the Apple ecosystem and start with their new first iPhone. That would be a great way to do it because it's so inexpensive. It's dirt cheap. With regard to the iPhone 5S, to me the biggest deal of the phone, I didn't really care so much about everything else. The camera features are really nice, but to me, if you're not really into cameras or know much about aperture, about balancing of lighting, about all that stuff it does, the burst mode, if you're not really utilizing these things, it doesn't mean much to the average consumer. It means much to me because I know a little bit about that. I mean, I have a T3i, that's what I'm using right now to record this, so I have an idea, but for me personally, I don't need it since I have the T3i. It kind of does all that and more for me. The thumbprint, the whole Touch ID, to me it's a gimmick. It doesn't really add that much value to it. It's a neat feature. I love new technology, and don't get me wrong, I love Apple products. I have an iPhone 5 here. I've had a couple of iPads. I have a Mac Mini on the side here. I think it's a really cool feature from a technical standpoint, but I don't see much value for me. I don't mind entering my password. I don't see a reason to upgrade just for that. The biggest feature for me is the 64-bit chip. To me, that is amazing. The fact that I want to see what it's able to do, what it's able to accomplish. The fact that you can go ahead and now you have this bigger highway. You've just increased the lanes on the highway for more information to travel through. So how will this be utilized with multitasking, with loading up apps quicker, perhaps more apps running in the background? I want to see how this will really be used in the new iOS 7 iPhone 5S phone. But apparently nothing is available yet with the 64-bit architecture built in. You can use the 32-bit programs and apps and all that stuff, but I haven't seen anything really demoed to show the 64-bit processing power. But that's what I really care about. That's what I think is really the system seller on this. But is it enough for me to change? To be honest, no, it's not. Android phones have been doing all this stuff for quite some time as far as with their camera. Nokia has their 41 megapixel camera. There's a ton of other options that are already doing all these things. I don't see anything new besides the biometric thumbprint and the 64-bit processor. The 64-bit processor, I don't see anything that's really wowed me or gave me that wow factor yet. That's like, man, I have to have this phone because this thing is just blazing fast. Until I see that, I don't think I'm going to be upgrading. I don't think it's a big enough seller for me. But maybe for you it is. Maybe it's really important to you. Maybe you don't want to use a DSL camera or anything like that, or buy a separate camera and just utilize your phone. In that case, I would say maybe it is a good upgrade for you. Now, one thing left, right before I close and before I kind of leave you guys alone, I want to complain about one thing. I have one problem. Infinity Blade. Infinity Blade was shown off by Epic Games at the event, and I am tired of seeing Infinity Blade. This is Infinity Blade 3. Every year they've done it for the last 3 years, showing Infinity Blade. Is this really the best game we have available on the phone? Is this the best in graphics? Is this the best in gameplay? Is this the best that can be utilized on the phone and the best to be shown? I think either we don't have enough developers on the phones, well, not enough developers, but a developer is really taking advantage of the phone's processing power, or we don't really have any innovation in the gameplay. I mean, this is the best that we can come up with. So I'm kind of tired of that. I would like to see a brand new game being shown at next year's event. But as far as the iPads being announced, as far as the new Macs, hopefully we should see that in about a month. That wasn't announced today. No iWatch was announced. No Apple TV, which has been rumored for years now. And we won't know. Maybe we'll see something in the next coming months. But only time will tell, guys. Time will tell. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to share. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.